Hi there, everyone. It's Father Barry. It's Day to Day with St. Joseph. It's a double tape. Yeah, anytime I do too much, I have to make it into a 2-day tape. So, Wednesday, which is our Joseph Day of the week, today in this year of St. Joseph, and it will spill into Thursday's content, all right? And I filmed it over at Riderwood at night. And I got my new badge there for Riderwood. See that? That means I can get around now a lot easier. And it means I'm officially recognized as staff there instead of a guest priest. My status for the last 4 years. So now, as Louise is leaving, our staff there, Father Virginus and I and Kathy Ford are going to be part of the staff there officially. Thanks. Enjoy the tape. It's a little goofy. It's about the names of things named after Joseph and places. Hi friends, it's Father Barry and it's Day to Day with St. Joseph, and I am reminiscing about experiences with places and people named after Joseph. So I'm taking a stroll here in the evening over at our Riderwood campus of the parish, and I was thinking of our Joseph experiences, and I was thinking of being a kid and going to St. Joseph's in Penfield. St. Joseph's Parish was a school and a church. The church was one of those places that wasn't yet a full church. It was a place that they were just kind of using for a while, and they wanted to build a big church, but they had a small church, and we kids would go in there, and one of my memories is to go to Mass on a weekly basis there. I would go to Mass at this place during the school day at least once a week, and I remember the wooden pews, and I remember kneeling down, and I remember that the Mass was still not the Novus Ordo, but the older Mass. We were living in the transition of Vatican II back then. But I remember the St. Joseph statue that was in the church, and I remember just looking at it, and I would just having a connection with him just because our school had that name, and we all were supposed to know a little bit about St. Joseph. And so I thought of him, with a hammer and saw and tools in his hand, and I saw him kind of dusty from the wood shavings, and just see him working in a shop. I saw him as a workman even more than I saw him as a father of Jesus. But I think too it was because I was at a school that St. Joseph's kind of looking over your shoulder and making sure you're doing your work, doing your honest work. So that was a lot to it too. But the statues in the church and the school and the name. But when I came home, of course, St. Joseph, I had a little medal of St. Joseph I had on, and my St. Joseph thing on my school emblem. But at home, I remember the Christmas manger scene, and so much when Joseph then became Christmas. He was in the Christmas scenes there in that special set my mom and dad had since they were married, and just a very nice set. And I remember looking out there at Joseph and saying, so he was in the middle of this whole story of Jesus coming. But when I moved to Maryland, I was under Sisters of St. Joseph in a school from 4th grade on, and once again, Joseph was kind of the person overseeing my education and my religious upbringing. Thank you, Joseph. So in this tape about Joseph's, I also think of my dad's friends that were Joes that were in his life, and they were also Catholic guys. And they also moved from New York down here with Dad, and one of them moved in a neighborhood really close to here. I remember coming to his house and visiting Joe McAvoy, so I remember him. And you know, this tape might be a little trivial or silly just because I'm reminiscing about Joseph, but no, I'd like you to think about it too. Places, people, things even that have been named after Saint Joseph in your life. So in my life, I've also had Father Joes, Father Josephs. I've had Uncle Joes. Have you? A lot of people probably know one because of the popularity of the name. So my Uncle Joe was my grandma's brother, and he was single, and he lived in New York City. And I remember he was a lot of fun. He was kind of a jolly, happy guy. He had a funny little dog called Shaggy, and at least I liked coming over there. And my Uncle Joe certainly liked potato chips, and I liked potato chips, and he always had the best ones. At that time, it was Wise potato chips. So, and when I think of Father Joes, I think of so many I've known, and one recently was my neighbor in my last parish, Father Joe. Lived over in Holy Family Parish, so we go over and visit him. And Father Joe's a deep river of faith and a caring person, wants to be orthodox in the faith. I enjoyed him. We shared in a ministry together. We kind of shared in a Filipino ministry in the church. And so he had the same folks kind of going between his parish and mine, or people that were friends with each other in both. You know, way in the background there, that is the moon. It is the moon I was showing you earlier. And there's a moon in the sky, and not far in the other sky, the sun went down. So it's one of those days where you have the sun and the moon, one rising, one setting. I like those days. Sometimes I go to a place where I can see both happening. Today I was working over here at Riderwood, visiting someone at night on a pastoral visit for an hour with somebody. So his name wasn't Joe though, but I've had a lot of parishioners named Joe. Oh my goodness, lots of Joes. Yeah, I can think of a couple of Joes that were in the Knights of Columbus with me, and kind of guys who would just do anything that you needed. You know, men that had a lot of favors to give out to people in need, and their brothers in the church, they were willing to do that. Guys you'd see up at the KFC hall, but also out on projects doing various charity works and helping out at the church as ushers and things. You know, that was neat. I think of a young man named Joseph who was one of my best altar servers I ever had. He served for about 6 years. And I kind of recruited him in 4th grade, and he was willing to also work Stations of the Cross on Fridays, and a number of things. He liked it when once a year a parishioner kind of paid the bill for all of us to go to an amusement park and have dinner and stuff. He liked that. I did too. But Joe wasn't in it for that. He was in it because he just loved the liturgy. And I've known some Joeys. Joey's kind of a youthful version of Joe, but some of them kept that Joey into their adult life. They kind of lived up to the playful sound of the name. I've known some Jose's, of course, Joseph in Spanish, and that's you know, of course they brought their Spanish kind of flavor to everything they did. Introduced me to you know, Catholicism from a different view, a different experience. Jose's. I can think of some Joes that had another name with their name, like John Joseph, or Jacob Joseph. I think John Joseph, he went by Jojo. Thought that was kind of a cool name. I remember when I was young, there was a basketball player for the Celtics named Jojo White. So I never realized that it was formed by two names that started with J-O until I met my friend. And I was also familiar with St. Joseph's aspirin. Do you remember that as a kid? The little orange flavored ones that would melt in your mouth. They were low dosage aspirin. But for children, I remember taking those. You know, of course, I remember St. Joseph's hospitals through the years. There's a lot of them in the United States. I'm not going to try to count them all, but I know there's a lot. And I think many things have named after Mary also then have a corresponding Joseph name to something, like St. Joseph's Villa up in the Elizabeth Ann Seton shrine and mother house for the sisters. They have St. Joseph's Villa. I remember visiting that pretty often. And the image of Joseph as you come into a place like that. Of course, there's cities, San Jose, St. Joseph's, Missouri, and some other smaller places with St. Joseph in its name. So Joseph, we've talked about famous people named Joseph already in a previous show, like Joe DiMaggio, Joe Montana, both from Italian American background, or actors, Joe Fiennes, Joe Campanella, lots of famous Joes that also might have been Catholic. A baseball player, remember, he changed his name. He didn't want to be just another ordinary Joe, a phrase of the day, just an ordinary Joe. So he changed his name to Ducky. So he is Joe Ducky Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals fame. Joseph and Mary are the great names for a couple to have. Named after the great married couple. It used to be there were more people that were wed that way. John's and Mary's and Joseph's and Mary's, the most popular Catholic names. Now it's changed a bit. Joseph is still a popular name for people of Jewish background, I noticed. There's an old phrase that I just mentioned, not your ordinary Joe, and certainly this one, not your ordinary Joe. He is the amazing saint of saints on the male side, and we salute him in this year of Saint Joseph.